in less than a week's time, Kenya's finance minister will be going before legislators and presenting the budget for the next fiscal year for debate and approval. Henry Rotich will be effectively asking MPs to approve a spending outlay of over $22 billion, with tax revenue estimates of about $16.5 billion and deficit funding of about $5 billion. However, Parliament's Budget Office is warning that not only are this year's revenue targets, quote, highly doubtful, even those ones for next year are, in their words, not likely to be achieved. Earlier on, I spoke to Deloitte's tax director for East Africa, Nikhil Hira. I started by asking him if we should expect any more changes to the tax code, especially income tax, this year.
Can we make changes to income tax? Well, yes, we can, but we've got an election coming. What if the government doesn't come back? Then, of course, the whole thing, there's a new government. And to me, the timing is such. The budget is next week, 30th March. I think Parliament goes into recess for a little while in April, comes back, and then by the 5th of June, I believe, has to dissolve.
Yeah.
So how are they going to debate a finance bill in that little period? And they've got a lot of other things to do, including paying themselves a bit more. So, you know, with that sort of thing, what is going to be announced next week? I would think very little. My own feeling is, and this is personally, purely a personal view, that with the timing, it's going to be very difficult to have anything meaty in the finance bill. So I don't see that there's going to be any big tweaks of taxation and things like that. People have said to me maybe he'll raise VAT, but again, as we've said in the past, that would be counterproductive. And I don't think in an election year a government wants to raise VAT
because
anyway.
then, I mean, if you would, would essentially be asking us to move from what, 16%, probably closer to 18%, which is
18, which is what the other countries are in the region.
Yeah.
But I think that strategic benefit of being at 16% makes sense. And of course, when you raise VAT, who is going to suffer the most?
It's usually the poor.
The poor, the 1 inch who are below the breadline are going to suffer the most. So I can't see that happening. I don't see a lot of changes, or any changes in fact, happening on income tax, because I think the Treasury and the people around them are working very hard on a new income tax bill. Whether they present it next week or not, or table it next week or not, I don't know. But clearly, there's little point in making changes to the existing act if you're just about to issue something new.
Yeah.
So what does that leave? Excise, yes, okay, with the inflationary adjustment, which is now there under the law. Customs duty are not determined until 1st of July, when the EAC announces them. So where are we going to get these taxes? Maybe a few miscellaneous levies here and there, maybe road maintenance levy or something like that. But I don't see a whole-scale change.
So on balance, based on what you're saying, the smart play here would be to expect pretty much the status quo.
I would think so, yes. Now, the status quo is fine, but we've still got this heavy expenditure.
Yeah.
Now, if we continue with the heavy expenditure and the status quo remains, firstly, how are you going to get from whatever it is, 1.4 to 1.6 or 1.3 to 1.5 trillion of collections? We know that in an election year, the economy tends to tank a little bit. Even then, the economy is not doing as well as it might. We've got some good GDP growth rates, but how much of that is the underlying economy? I'm not so sure. Liquidity is a big mess in the market, to my mind.
And especially now with this business of rate caps in place.
The rate caps have not helped. I don't believe personally they've achieved what they would set out to achieve.
CGT, several disasters. We should expect pretty much the same status quo to remain as far as most of the other taxes are concerned, customs duty, excise and so on. Is there anything in the status quo that was introduced in the last fiscal year that actually worked out as planned?
Well, I guess the new Excise Duty Act has worked. People might not like it. You know, the brewers and the tobacco companies and the banks and us individuals who are paying excise duty on our mobile transfers and what, we may not like it. But I think in a way it has worked. Although even that has got a bit of a problem, because this whole definition of what is a financial institution, there were 2 attempts at it. What is a bank charge or a financial institution charge? So they were trying insurance premiums, insurance commissions.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of court cases going through right now so they changed the law. So there's a 6-month period where KRA is saying, but that was the law at that time, so you owe us excise duty. And the taxpayer is saying, but when you changed it, you removed it. So surely
how
you
can
got it wrong
apply-
in the
how
first
can you
place.
demand retroactive taxes?
Well, you can because the law was in force at the time, but if you're looking equitably and fairness and Article 47 of the Constitution, if you got the law wrong in the first place, then I think it seems a bit unfair to then say, give us the tax for that period.